here's my review of Evil Dead Burn. I thought that this movie was pretty good. I didn't find it to be as strong as Evil Dead Rise back in 2023, but as someone who's not like a huge fan of this franchise, I've only seen like the first one, the third one, and then the most recent one, and then this one. Like I really enjoyed Evil Dead Rise, and this was like another solid Evil Dead movie. And in many ways it does have that kind of slow burn, no pun intended, to it, but I do think that it works for what this movie is. I think that the whole opening scene of this movie is great with like these people just fishing and the water starting to boil and just this horrifying scene. You're like, oh, okay, something's wrong. It's a really great scene, and it really just sets the tone of the movie. For it to still be really fun, but also terrifying, which is what an Evil Dead movie should be. And of course, you do have like the iconic Sam Raimi cinematography from the original Evil Dead. And I always think of Spider Man 2, specifically the scene in the hospital. But just like that camera movement, almost snake like, is just always so much fun. And of course, it wouldn't really be an Evil Dead movie without that great camera work. And it's great here. And it does feel like there's, like, with this movie, who, like, as someone who's not, like, super caught up on all of the lore, it does give me a lot of Final Destination vibes, where it's like there's this almost supernatural presence that's just causing these people to get like into these serious injuries. Like there's a scene in a morgue in a cremation chamber that is also like kind of really funny and then gets really messed up quickly, but it's fun. Like, and that's kind of what I realized that this movie is very early on. And also, one thing that's almost makes this movie really uncomfortable, kind of like awkward, like in a good way, because it works for a horror movie of making you feel uncomfortable, is one of our characters, like the fiance of one of our characters who gets killed. Like, she has this, like, she does kind of feel like, okay, I guess I'll just go back to France. 'Cause, like, I mean, my husband was killed. And it gives you this uncomfortable area because then of course the family's like, what, you're just gonna leave because your husband died, or you're just abandoning everybody. It's weird because I mean in a way it's like, well, yeah, her husband did die, what else, what does she do now? She's experienced this tragedy, she's obviously grieving, and it just allows for there to be just this uncomfortable tension between her and her dead fiance's family. It's just very awkward, but it's weird because like a lot of the things that happen though to these people in this movie, you kind of feel really bad for because a lot of them do not deserve what happens to them in this movie. They're like this scene, oh my, like this whole car scene is just absolutely like terrifying. It was great, really great scene, and it's just classic Evil Dead. It's classic great horror where you're just like, oh, and that's what a great horror movie can do. I always think it is fun. Of course, like I do, like I think the best kind of horror movies are like sometimes like the slower burn and like the creepy undertone, like something like classic movies like Alien, The Thing. But then when you still have these movies who are, in many ways, they are horror comedies, just like that classic, ooh, or it's not a kill, because this is not a slasher franchise necessarily, but it's like a oh, and you just kind of almost want to cover your eyes and you feel like tensing up just watching it. And when it's like that silence just for a second before the scream comes, it's like chef's kiss, just classic horror movie trope, but it's done so well here. And the scene with the drinking of the candle wax of one of the deadites is just really good. It's really uncomfortable. I mean, and that's what this movie does. Is it's able, Evil Dead, like I said, I'm not like as experienced with the franchise as many others are, but it's able to craft a perfect balance between being terrifying and uncomfortable, but also at the same time funny, where you're like almost laughing at some of the absurdity, but at the same time you're like, oh, that's terrifying. And I feel like not many other horror franchises can do that. Like maybe like Final Destination, I guess, but it's much more comedic in Final Destination than it is in here, but here it's able to tiptoe, still like having that comedy but still being like horror. It's like that is what it is. Where Final Destination I would like specifically label as like horror comedy. And I will say it is kind of like just the main premise of, like I said, where our main, the fiance of, like the fiance of who lost her husband, of like her being with this new family, her new family, and just like them slowly turning into the Deadites and getting possessed and all these terrible things happening. When we're following that character, it does kind of give us like I think it allows for like a good entry point almost into the franchise, simply because you're following this character who doesn't really know what's going on. And obviously like this family doesn't really have any personal experience with like the possession stuff that's happened in this franchise, but it just felt like the right move to have that character be kind of our lead and who we're following, at least at a certain point. And I do think that the actress here is really great. And I will say one thing, like, I think that she was great, but also one thing that almost not necessarily took me out of it. It wasn't really it's not really the movie's fault, but it just reminded me of someone I know. And it just kind of like made me unintentionally like just kind of laugh, because she just reminds me a lot of somebody else I know. But that's like not the movie's fault. But yeah, in conclusion, I think that this is another just solid Evil Dead movie. It's just another solid, good horror movie where I don't think that this movie's not going to be on like my top 10 favorite movies of the year. I don't think. Maybe top 10 favorite horror movies, but not top 10 movies of the year. But it's just a solid movie. It's a solid horror movie, and it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I thought I enjoyed Evil Dead Rise more, but I still liked this movie, and like I'll watch another one of these like when they make it again, probably in, I don't know, 2029 or whatever. But it was solid. It was a lot of fun.